everything changes the moment they realize Lord John isn't just missing, he's running out of time. What starts as a rescue mission quickly turns into something much bigger, something far more dangerous than any of them expected. And the most shocking part? Saving him might come at a cost that could break everything Jamie and William have just started to rebuild. I don't know about you, but episode 9 already feels like the kind of turning point this season has been building toward from the very beginning. After everything we saw in episode 8, the emotional tension, the fragile peace between William and Jamie, and that sudden, brutal kidnapping of Lord John, there's no way things go back to normal after this. In fact, if anything, this is where everything starts to spiral. The biggest question going into this episode is simple: how far are Jamie and William willing to go to save Lord John? Because let's be honest, this isn't just about rescuing him. This is about proving something to themselves, to each other, and maybe even to Lord John. What makes this situation so intense is the emotional weight behind it. William has spent so long fighting his feelings, pushing Jamie away, holding on to anger that's been eating at him for years. But now, none of that can matter. Because the moment he realizes Lord John is in real danger, everything shifts. Pride doesn't matter. Resentment doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is saving him before it's too late. And Jamie, you can already imagine the kind of pressure he's under. He knows what Lord John means to William. He also knows the kind of enemies they're dealing with. This isn't a simple search and rescue. This is dangerous, unpredictable, and likely connected to something much bigger happening in the background. What makes things even more complicated is how fast everything happened. One moment, Lord John is there, and the next, he's gone. Taken in a way that feels planned, precise, and intentional. This wasn't random. This was targeted. Which raises a much bigger question: why him? Because if someone went through this much effort to kidnap Lord John, then it means he's more valuable than we might think. And that's where the real danger begins. This isn't just about where he is, it's about what they want from him. At the same time, you can't ignore Percy's role in all of this. His involvement adds a layer of unpredictability that makes the entire situation even more tense. Because Percy isn't a simple villain. His feelings, his past, his connection to Lord John, all of that creates a conflict that could go either way. He could stay loyal to the plan, or he could break at the last moment. And honestly, if there's one thing this show does well, it's putting characters in situations where emotions override logic. If Percy hesitates, even for a second, that could be the opening Jamie and William need. But if he doesn't, then things could get much worse. Meanwhile, the bond between Jamie and William is about to be tested in a way we haven't seen before. It's one thing to talk, to explain, to slowly rebuild trust. But it's something completely different to fight side by side, risking everything for the same person. That kind of situation forces honesty. It forces connection, whether they're ready for it or not. And that's why this rescue mission feels so important. Not just because of Lord John, but because of what it represents. This is their chance to finally move forward, or completely fall apart again. But here's the problem: nothing about this feels easy. There's a sense that even if they succeed, even if they manage to save him, it won't come without consequences. Because the way this story is unfolding, it feels like the rescue is only the beginning of something much bigger, something darker, something tied to the growing tension of the war that's slowly creeping closer. And if that's true, then saving Lord John might not be the victory it seems. It might just be the moment everything truly begins, the moment Jamie and William set out. You can already feel the difference. This isn't like the hunting trip. There's no quiet tension, no careful conversations, no slow attempts to understand each other. This time, everything is urgent. Every second matters. And that urgency forces them into a kind of partnership neither of them can avoid anymore. At first, there's still that distance between them. You can sense it in the way they speak, in the way they move, like they're still unsure where they stand. But the deeper they get into the search, the more the distance starts to fade. Not because they've suddenly resolved everything, but because the situation doesn't give them a choice. They have to trust each other. And that's where things start to shift in a really interesting way. William begins to see a different side of Jamie. Not just the man he's been angry at, not just the father he feels abandoned by, but the leader. The strategist. The man who knows how to handle situations like this. And whether he wants to admit it or not, William starts relying on that. At the same time, Jamie is watching William closely. He sees the determination, the fear that William is trying to hide, and the way he refuses to give up, even when the trail gets cold. And in those moments, you can tell, there's pride there. The kind of pride Jamie has probably been holding back for a long time, but of course, nothing about this search is straightforward. Every clue they find only seems to raise more questions. The path Lord John was taken on doesn't feel random. It feels controlled. Planned in a way that suggests whoever is behind this knew exactly what they were doing. And that realization changes everything. Because now it's not just about catching up to the kidnappers, it's about understanding them, and that's dangerous. The more they start putting the pieces together, the clearer it becomes that this isn't just a personal attack. There's something bigger happening beneath the surface. Something connected to the rising tension of the war. And suddenly, Lord John's kidnapping starts to look less like an isolated event, and more like a move in a much larger game. That realization hits hard, especially for Jamie. He's been through war before. He knows how quickly things can escalate, how fast people can become targets not because of who they are, but because of what they represent. And Lord John, he represents a lot. For William, though, this is where things become even more personal. Because now there's a possibility that Lord John isn't just in danger, he's being used. And that idea pushes him even further. You can feel the urgency turning into something sharper, something more desperate. He's not just trying to save him anymore. He's trying to reach him before it's too late. And then there's Percy. The closer Jamie and William get, the more his presence starts to linger over everything. Because even when he's not physically there, his choices are shaping what's happening. And the question of where his loyalty truly lies becomes impossible to ignore. There are moments where it feels like he might regret what he's done. Like he's caught between what he was supposed to do and what he actually feels. And if that's true, then he's not just a threat, he's a wild card. Someone who could either ruin everything, or save it, and that uncertainty adds a whole new level of tension to the rescue mission. Because now it's not just about finding Lord John. It's about what happens when they finally do. Will Percy stand in their way, or will he be the reason they succeed? Meanwhile, the pressure keeps building. The trail gets more dangerous, the risks get higher, and with every step forward, it becomes clearer that they're running out of time. Because whatever the kidnappers are planning, they're not waiting. And if Jamie and William are even a moment too late, the consequences could be something they can't come back from. Which is exactly why this part of the episode feels so intense. There's no safety net anymore. No guarantee that things will work out. Just a race against time, where every decision matters. And every mistake could cost them everything. And then comes the moment everything finally collides, because when Jamie and William do find Lord John, it's not relief that hits first, it's shock. The condition he's in says everything before a single word is spoken. The bruises, the exhaustion, the way he can barely stand, it's clear he's been through far more than they expected. And suddenly, this isn't just a rescue mission anymore. It's damage control. It's survival. Because whatever was done to him wasn't just meant to hold him, it was meant to break him. That realization hits William the hardest, you can see it in the way his entire demeanor changes. This isn't the controlled, guarded version of him anymore. This is raw emotion. Anger, guilt, fear, all of it crashing in at once. Because in his mind, he's already asking the question he doesn't want to face, what if they're too late in the ways that actually matter? And Jamie feels it too, but he handles it differently. Where William reacts, Jamie focuses. He immediately shifts into action, assessing the situation, figuring out what needs to be done next. Because he knows they're not safe yet. Not even close, and that's when the tension spikes again. Because finding Lord John was only half the battle. Getting him out, that's where things get dangerous. There's this constant sense that they're being watched, that the people behind all of this aren't just going to let him go without a fight. And that fear becomes real the moment they try to leave. Whether it's guards, hidden traps, or something even more calculated, the escape doesn't come easy. Every step feels like it could be the one where everything falls apart. And in the middle of all this chaos, something really important happens between the three of them. Because despite everything, despite the pain he's in, Lord John is still aware enough to understand who came for him. And that moment, when he sees Jamie and William standing there together, it carries so much weight. This is something he probably never expected to witness. Not like this. Not under these circumstances. And for William, it's even more complicated. Because now he's faced with the reality of what Lord John means to him, and what he almost lost. There's no more hiding from it, no more pushing it aside. The emotions are right there, impossible to ignore. But at the same time, there's no space to fully process any of it, because the danger isn't over. If anything, it's just beginning. And then there's Percy. This is where his role becomes absolutely critical. Because at some point during this escape, there's a shift. A hesitation. A moment where he has to choose between staying loyal to the people he aligned with, or acting on what he actually feels. And that moment could change everything. If Percy decides to help, even in the smallest way, it could be the difference between success and failure. A distraction, a delay, a piece of information, anything could tip the balance. But if he doesn't, if he fully commits to the other side, then Jamie, William, and Lord John are walking straight into something far worse than they anticipated. And that uncertainty hangs over the entire escape, because no one really knows which way it's going to go. All they know is that they have to keep moving. Faster. Smarter. Together. And that's what makes this part of the episode feel so intense. It's not just about action, it's about choices. Split-second decisions that could either save them or destroy them. By the time they finally break free, if they even do, it doesn't feel like a victory. It feels like they've barely made it out alive. And the truth is, they might not be out of danger at all. Because whatever this was, whoever planned it. They're not done yet, even after they manage to get away, there's no real sense of safety. If anything, the tension shifts into something quieter, but heavier. Because now they have Lord John back, but the damage is already done. And the biggest question isn't just what happened to him, it's what information might have been taken from him. You can feel that uncertainty in every moment that follows. Jamie is the first to recognize it. He's seen this before. Situations where the physical rescue is only the surface, while the real consequences take time to unfold. And the way he looks at Lord John now, it's not just concern, it's calculation. Trying to understand how deep this goes. Because if Lord John was targeted for a reason, then whatever he knows, or represents, could now be compromised. And that possibility changes everything. For William, though, this is where things become even more emotional. Now that the immediate danger has passed, everything he's been holding in starts to rise to the surface again. The fear of losing Lord John, the anger at what was done to him, and even the guilt for not being there sooner, it all hits at once. But what's interesting is how he handles it this time. Instead of shutting down or pushing people away, there's a shift. A quiet one, but it's there. He stays. He doesn't walk off. He doesn't avoid the situation. And that alone says more than anything he could put into words. There's also a powerful moment building between the three of them. Because Lord John, even in his weakened state, understands exactly what it means that Jamie and William came for him together. That's not something that would have happened before. Not like this. And there's a kind of unspoken acknowledgement there that something has changed. Not perfectly. Not completely. But enough to matter. At the same time, Percy's role doesn't just disappear after the escape. If anything, it becomes even more complicated. Because if he did help them in any way, even indirectly, then he's now caught between two sides with no clear place to stand. And that's dangerous for him. Because people who exist in that kind of space, they don't stay safe for long. If he chooses to step forward, to fully turn against those behind the kidnapping, he could become a valuable ally. Someone who knows more than anyone else about what's really going on. But that also puts a target on his back. On the other hand, if he tries to disappear or avoid taking a clear side, that uncertainty could come back to hurt everyone involved. And that's what keeps the tension alive even after the rescue. Because this doesn't feel finished, it feels like a setup. Like whatever happened to Lord John was only one piece of something much larger that's starting to take shape. And the closer you look at it, the more it seems connected to the growing instability around them, especially with the war getting closer. That looming conflict adds a whole new layer to everything. Because now it's not just about personal relationships or isolated threats, it's about a world that's about to change in a very real, very dangerous way. And Jamie knows that better than anyone. You can already imagine the kind of weight he's carrying now. Protecting his family, navigating this fragile situation with William, and at the same time preparing for a war that could take everything from him all over again. Which is why this moment, right after the rescue, feels so important. It's the calm before something much bigger. A chance to catch their breath, but not to relax. Because deep down, all of them can feel it. Something is coming, and whatever it is, it's going to test them in ways